Yeah, so in this episode we're just going to finish off the interior, so just finish off that behind the seat, just to wire in the relays and that. Then we'll move forward and we'll do those front speakers, do the roof console, and then finish off the stuff in the dash for the extra switches. Then once we've done that, we'll jump onto the outside, do the MSA mirrors, jump into the engine bay, do the alternator and the rest of the upgrades there, and then that pretty much will finish it off, so let's jump into it. Yeah, so we just finished up wiring the behind the seat kit. So there's a full install video on how to actually install this kit. So yeah, if you want to check that out, you can just head over to our YouTube channel. You can see the full install of that. But yeah, just the extras we chucked on top of that was just all these relays. So we've got quite a few relays. We've got the 3 for the work lights. These are the red arc latching relays, just because I wanted to have dual switching. And then as you can see, we've already got quite a few relays as it is. If we were to do it without the latching relays, we'll need 2 sets of relays per light instead of just like 1 per light. So then it would add another 3 extra relays. We're already pretty tight for space, so that's why we opted for the latching ones. But they are a bit more expensive. I think they're about 200 or something each. So they are quite a lot more expensive, but it just allowed us to save a bit of space and not have to have an extra 3 relays there. So we've got the 3 for the work lights. You've got rear, left and right. And then we've just got the work light mode, because we've just got the ability to change the actual function of those work lights from, you know, white to amber to a dual one. So that's just what that one's for. And we had to put a relay in because they switch negative. But light force switches that we use in the dash to get that OEM style finish, they only switch positive. So we have to put a relay in to be able to switch it from positive to negative. So it's switching positive on the switch, but then we come here, we switch it over, and then it goes to negative to the light. So that's why we had to chuck that relay in. Then we just got the light bar on the roof. We already had to run the cables like down from the roof to that corner there. So we just saw, instead of running all the way to the engine bay to chuck the relay in, we may as well just chuck it in here, and then can just power it straight off this battery here. So it just saved us a bit of cabling. So that's why we've got the light bar relay here. I was putting an ignition relay in. So we've picked up ignition from the CAN bus module, but it's only good for 3 amps. We're running quite a lot of stuff off ignition, like a few lights, for position lights and so on, and then we've got 3 DC-DC chargers and so on. So I just thought, oh, we're getting a bit close to that 3 amps, so I'll just rather chuck a relay in, and that way we don't have to stress. So that's why we've got an ignition relay there. And then we've just got the left and right side steps. So we're just going to put e-boards on this. So we've picked up the door switches already, and then run that to these 2 relays, and then picks up power from this battery, and then we'll just send it out. And then that way when we chuck those e-boards up, we've already got positive and negative out there, just connect it up, and then we're good to go. So that's what those 2 relays are for. Then yeah, we're just onto the fuse box. We've just got the MIDI fuse box. There's the fuse box over there to power all our accessories. DC-DC charger in, and then we've got the 2 6BNSs to go out to the back to the air compressor on the tank, so on the tray, sorry. So that's what is getting wired into that. We've got a few spares here, just in case we're ever adding in the future, because potentially we might want to add some stuff later down the line. So we've just got a few spares there curled up. Once we've actually fully finished the whole build, we'll tie them up a little bit better, but right now we might still need to come back in and out of here and utilize some of these spares. So that's why they're just curled up like that for now. And then yeah, we've already punched through on the back, which you can't see now that the covers are on, to go out to the back to the tray to go into our canopy, and obviously all our wiring to the tray. So that's just tucked in behind that cover there, so you can't see it, so it looks pretty nice. But yeah, that's pretty much everything from here. So we'll now jump to the dash now, finish that stuff off, and then we'll continue on into the engine bay. Yeah, so now we're jumping into the front of the cab, and we're basically pretty much going to do everything that goes behind the dash now. So we're going to go ahead and just pull the dash apart, and then go ahead and do everything that we need to do behind there. So we've already done a few switches. We're going to add a few more, and then we're going to do the tow pro, and then we're going to rip this head unit out as well, because there's a little module we're going to put in, and basically what it's going to allow us to do is to be able to always turn this reverse camera on, so that way we can always have it on, we don't have to be in reverse. And then the other function is it will allow us to put another camera input in. So I want a camera on the front of the bull bar. Obviously when you do a lot of four-wheel drive, especially on dunes, which is mainly what I do, you do get some quite steep bankments and then you can never see what's over the top. So having a camera at the front really helps with that. So I just wanted to have the ability that I could change this to a front facing camera when I go four-wheel driving and it's always on, and then I have the ability to either toggle it to the rear one or just switch it off and then it'll just work as per normal. Every time I go into reverse, it'll be reverse camera, or I can have it on at any point that I wish. So that's why the head unit's going to come out, and then also while it's out we'll go ahead and wire the speakers in. We'll pick the speakers up from behind the head unit instead of trying to go into these door cards. May as well, we're already ripping the head unit out, may as well pick the left and right speakers up for that so that we can then wire in our sub. So let's go ahead and pull all this apart and get stuck into it. Yeah, so we just finished up in the front here, so we always pulled that dash apart, just jumped into the back, found the speaker wires, and then just wired that in for the sub, and at the same time just wired in the extra camera input for that front camera as well. Got all that back together, and then we just jumped over to the driver's side and then chucked all our switches in. So we've got the two switches for the camera, one just to be able to turn it on, so it'll always come on, you don't have to be in reverse, and then one to be able to change it between the front one or the rear facing, and then just like the rock lights, the work lights, and then also just the light bar for the roof, and that I'd already done the spotlight one previously. And then also just done the tow pro as well. So that stuff's all done. So now we'll jump and do the roof console and put the UHF in there, and we'll get that one figured out. Yeah, so we just finished up installing the overhead console. So it's just got the TX 330 GME XRS in there. It's just tucked in behind the factory light console there. So that was pretty simple install. Just chuck the little insert up inside once you've removed that, and then you just remove the light at the back, bolt that stuff in. But just to do that, you just want to remove this actual light. Just makes it a bit easier to get the bolts in, and then you can just bolt that light straight back up, and that just pops straight in, and then yeah, you're good to go. So yeah, it's going to be a bit nicer now having that extra LED there. And then another little thing I did was just change these out just to LEDs, just because they were the halogens, they're yellow. Now having this big white light and then a yellow light, and the mixture just wasn't very nice. So that was pretty simple. When this is out, it's quite easy to get to those globes, and you just twist them off and then just replace them, chuck the globe straight in, and then twist it back in. The one thing you want to do before you chuck it back in, if we are going to change the LED, is just test it first, because they are LEDs. Obviously they're only going to work one way. So I got one of them right and one of them wrong, but it was a quick and easy swap. You just pull it back out, twist it, push it back in, and then you're good to go. So you just wanted to keep that in mind if you ever change any lights out to LED, just to test them first before you put it back together. Otherwise you might find you got the wrong sequence, and then you have to pull it back out, swap it over. Now that that's done, probably jump onto the mirrors and just replace them for the MSA towing mirrors. So we'll jump into that now. Yeah, so we just finished up installing the MSA mirrors. I've opted for the ones that are the power fold, has the indicator and the blind spot monitor. As it's the X-Terrain, it comes with all those features, and obviously I didn't want to lose them swapping the mirrors out, so that's why I've gone for those ones. They are a bit more expensive. You can get the cheaper ones that don't have those features, but obviously I've got those features available in the vehicle, so I wanted to transfer those over to the MSA mirrors. They are pretty nice. If you haven't seen them, they do look pretty sleek. You can leave them in compact like that, but then when you are towing, you can just pull them straight out, and then if you need even more again, you can then just fold it straight down. So they do give you quite a lot of extra viewing, especially if you have a train canopy. A lot of the issues is with the standard mirrors is once you put that train canopy on, it's a bit wider than the vehicle and you can't really see past. So chucking these mirrors on just really helps with getting a bit more visibility, and that's probably a pretty big thing that I've noticed having these on now and driving around with them is they do give you quite a lot of extra visibility. Just in this standard form here, I can see quite a lot further over to the other side, which is a pretty nice feature. It doesn't really appear I've got really blind spots anymore. That's how much extra view you get out of them, but obviously you still want to check that, but having that extra sensor in there, it obviously tells you all that stuff. So to do that, we obviously had to pull that door card off to be able to get to the bolts, and then it's just a full plug and play thing, so we pulled that off. While we had the door card off, we decided to insulate it. So yeah, I think insulating your doors makes a pretty big difference. I'm not sure if you can hear that over the camera, but that's a pretty big difference between those two doors there. So I definitely think if you're looking at doing any insulation on sound deadening, I think doing the doors will probably make the biggest impact on your vehicle compared to like the floor and the roof and that. So if you don't want to spend too much money or too much time on doing sound deadening, I'd probably definitely target the doors because they're always the biggest problem on vehicles. So we did that sound deadening. I also got a couple modules put in so that when the vehicle locks and unlocks, they will automatically fold in and fold out instead of having to manually do it with a switch all the time. The main reason I wanted to do that is because I always would park up, fold my mirrors in, then turn the car off. But then obviously the downside to that is if you ever parked out on a road, you'd open the door and you got no idea if there's a car coming or not. So it was just a nice little feature. It was a full plug and play system and just literally plugged straight into the actual mirrors and the central locking. Yeah, and as part of that mirror fold in and out, it's also got the up and down function as well. So the D-Max only comes with the driver's side front window as the auto up and down for the windows. But obviously I wanted each one of the windows to be able to have that feature as well. So to do that, each one of the doors just needing their switches, that plug and play module thrown in. And then that just allows each one of the doors to now have that auto up and down, so you just hit it and it'll come all the way up, and then same thing for the down. And then if you ever want to stop it, you'll just hit it again and then just stop it in that same thing. So it's not just set that if you just hit it down, it'll go all the way down and you can't get it to stop halfway. You can do it again, you just got to hit it, and then yeah, easy enough to do. So that was a nice little feature to chuck in at the same time. And then also while these door cards are off, we just changed these speakers out just for upgraded speakers, just to get a bit better, nice sound. But we've only done that on the two front ones for now, because we've only taken these door cards off to get to the mirrors. We'll do the rear ones later once we get them sorted out, but that's not really a priority right now, so we won't bother with doing them just as of yet. Now that that's done, we'll jump into the engine bay and we'll do the upgraded alternator. Yeah, so we just finished up in the engine bay here. So we just made a little bracket just to be able to house the winch isolator, our switch for our under bonnet lights, and then also just our four-way MIDI fuse holder. So on the four-way, we've just got the driving lights and then the 3 charge harnesses, one for the behind the seat, and we've got 2 charge harnesses going into the canopy for the 2 Orion DC-DC. So that's that little bracket made up, which is a pretty nice little spot, because we prefer, if we can, to not put fuse in that on the actual battery itself. That way, if you ever need to replace the battery in a rush, you're not having to pull everything off to be able to get the battery out. And this was quite a lot of dead space in here, so it was a nice little spot to put the winch isolator and all your fuses and that. And then it's just got the relay for the spotlights just on that bracket as well, so it just gets it out the way. And then yeah, it looks pretty neat in there. Then we just had to put the 2 up on the positive cable because we've got quite a lot of extra cables, one for the winch, one for the fuse box. And then also one for the alternator upgrade. It's got quite a lot of cables on there, so we just chucked the 2 up on there just to make it a bit easier to get all our connections on there. Then we've also just got the bonnet stripe and the utility light holders. So yeah, they're just a nice little feature, and then that way it just allows you to remove that extra pole and you can just use the bonnet stripes, and then we can mount a couple lights up here or the antenna. Then just up on the actual bonnet, we just got a couple of those lights that we mentioned. For anyone that does any work at night, or if you ever need to get into your engine bay and it's just a little bit hard to see stuff, these are absolute necessity really. They just make it a lot easier to be able to see down into the engine bay. And yeah, it's quite a nice little feature there, just be able to chuck them up. They kind of get tucked out the way you can't really see them. And then just the way that we ran the cable for these, just so you couldn't see it. So we just done through here, just into a grommet. Comes out through there, then we just put it up on these 2 P-clamps up in here, another hole into there with a grommet, and then it comes up into the actual bonnet here. So, and then that just branches off to both lights. And then we've also just got the alternator upgrade that we've completed on this. It's just a 240 amp. I went for the brush one, the Black Series, the J-Lec alternator, because it's up a bit higher. Didn't really see the need a brushless one, and it's also half the price. That's why we went for that one. But same deal as the behind the seat. We've got a full install video on how to complete that. So if you're interested in how to upgrade your alternator, you can just check that out on our YouTube channel. But yeah, that's pretty much everything in the engine bay. Might look to do some performance upgrades, but that'll be the last thing I do. I want to try to get everything else finished and then look at performance later. So that's pretty much everything in here. Yeah, so that's everything for this episode on the D-Max. In the next one, we'll probably get into really the fun stuff now, which is the tray and then the canopy. So yeah, if you're interested, you can obviously just check out the other videos if you haven't already. But yeah, we'll get into the canopy and tray in the next one.